Lost Art with Andrew Cox, retired Master Gunnery Sergeant. thelostart.podbean.com. Get some merchandise and help support the podcast in getting our veteran voices out for all to hear. Now on all major podcast platforms. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be a guest, tell your veteran story, discuss your veteran business or organization. Email The Lost Art with Andrew Cox at gmail.com. Andrew Cox, a Till Valhalla Project Ambassador. See the project story at tillvalhallaproject.com. Thanks for tuning in. Please enjoy the podcast that's giving a voice to our veterans. The Lost Art with Andrew Cox.
Today's episode is brought to you by TrumpShirt.com. TrumpShirt.com is a veteran-owned business where 100% of the proceeds goes to disabled veterans and veteran organizations. Support your veterans by purchasing a shirt at TrumpShirt.com. Use the promo code TLA and get free shipping. That's TrumpShirt.com, promo code TLA.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Lost Art Podcast, that podcast giving a voice to our veterans. I'm your host, Andrew Cox, and today we'll be having almost said of my veteran story. It is not. This is a fireside chat with the crew and special guest, Kelly Lynn. But before we get into that, are you enjoying the episode? Then make sure you go to our podcast, thelostart.podbean.com. Go check it out, see what we're all about. There is a merchandise tab. You can click on that merchandise tab. You can go get you some cool gear. Help support us in getting our veteran voices out for all to hear. I also want to give a shout out to the Till Valhalla Project and allowing me to be an ambassador for their amazing organization. I encourage you to go check out their website as well. That's tillvalhallaproject.com. Go check it out. See if there's anything you can do to help them out. All right, I got the crew here. We're going to go ahead and go round robin. We're going to start with Aaron. Aaron, how you doing?
Doing good. Didn't have heat exhaustion this week. Like we were saying before we started here. Yeah, it seems like it might have cooled off a little bit. Not much, but every little bit counts, right? Kind of like that gas out in California, since Mark's not here to talk about it.
That's right. Got to bring it up.
He's happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Very nice. All right, Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Coming off a week of vacation. Cruise with the family. Had a good time. Had some hiccups on the ship itself, but unfortunately wasn't our best experience, but it wasn't terrible either. So,
well, they try to put you in the wrong room, the boiler room.
It was
what they do.
just not the expectation we've gotten in the past. Apparently they set the bar high and then they kind of missed it. So it was just some little things here and there. But I mean, our excursions and when we got off ship and Jamaica and Cozumel, like I said before, Cozumel's the typical, you got to stop there. But, had a good time. Rode some jet skis, did some zip lining,
Ooh.
Had some fun. Yeah.
Okay. I'm digging it. I like it. All right, Vic, how are you doing?
Life is good. I had our first week of school and everything's all right. Nobody crashed and burned. Building's still there. I'm still alive. Kids are still alive. We're good. This week's cigar is a cigar
falling
called
apart.
Leaf.
It's falling apart is what it is.
It is absolutely not falling apart. It's called Leaf by Oscar. And the reason it looks like it's falling apart is because it's wrapped in a tobacco leaf. So that's the presentation.
Look at there.
So yeah.
Okay.
But this is the 10th anniversary Leaf by Oscar. The cigar has got the manufacturer's got a neat story. Basically, he got started driving tour buses, I think, in the Dominican Republic. Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong. But he was driving tour buses to other people that were coming to tour cigar making factories. So that's where he got started. Right. But then his first cigar was for a tobacco store up in Pennsylvania. It's like the Leaf and Rally or something like that. But the owner made him put his name on it. He wasn't going to label the cigar with his name on it. So the owner, Leaf Johnson, or I can't remember his name, but Leaf is in his name. But the owner said, no, you have to put your name on it. So it's called Leaf by Oscar. But this is their 10th anniversary. And let's see. This one apparently is rather complex, both sweet and spicy. and a latte note. Later note, obvious tongue sweet cedar present on the palate. After time, coffee bean and earth take over, main flavors, followed by dark chocolate, mustard seed. So there's all kinds of stuff in here. I doubt I'll be able to taste half of it, but I'll let you know at the end.
All right. I can't wait. It's got all kinds of goodies in it. So
spicy and sweet.
We'll see. Spicy and sweet. Yeah, no creamy ones this week, but that's okay. Krista, how are you doing? Yeah. Krista, how are you doing?
It sounds like the soap I'm using, my Dr. Squatch soap. It's got coffee in it. My husband's like, I think there's coffee bean in this. I'm like, well, don't drink it. Just keep bathing with it because I like it. I like the ones with the heavy grit because I feel fresh and clean. And he's like, you got these for me because I got like 40 or 50 of them for he and my son for Christmas, last year. I was like, I love the Dr. Squatch soap. So coffee bean, cream, whatever works. So
yeah, I like it. Anyway, all right.
Yeah.
So no, we're good. Basically stealing it.
Yeah, I got them for their stocking stuffers, and I've been stealing them. I'm not using the beard oil though.
No.
Huh. Isn't the coffee bean kind of a? Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I told you got to put that beard oil in there to help it grow.
I know. I'm working it. It's not...
Yeah.
Isn't the coffee bean kind of heavy for an exfoliant? I mean, that's like I think it scrape the heck out of you. It's not like a walnut shell.
They have different types of grit. They've got heavy grit, light grit, medium grit. And I'm like, it's any kind of bath, bath beads. I like them.
Very nice.
Irish Spring, whatever works. Hey, I'm happy.
I thought of Vic. We went into a couple cigar shops. My son went in and looked at cigars, and I went in with them. And the one we looked in, I was like, I don't think I belong here. And you walk in and then they take you back to another room and stuff like that. And
little door locked.
It's like there's no goddamn way I'm paying $50 for a cigar. No.
You're saying they didn't have your standard Swisher Sweet with the wood tip?
$3 with the protective tip.
That's
buy one get one. There was no BOGOs in there.
Yeah, I'm sure there wasn't.
My son,
they had a sign that said, wood cigar boxes. They're selling a cigar, so they got boxes, old boxes. And in Jamaica. And my son's like, and it literally said wood cigar box, whatever size, $10. And he goes, can I get one of those cigar boxes? Do I get to pick it out or what? He goes, oh, come here, Tom. He takes them back, and I didn't go in there. And he gets a cigar box out, hands it to him. He goes, how much you going to give me for it? And her son's like, it says on the sign $10. And he's like, no, it's worth more than $10. It's like, no, shit. It's like you're raking in more. It's like, no, just.
Oh my God.
The cigar shop where I get my cigars, they throw them away.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you want a cigar box? You just go there somewhere around 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, and there's 5 or 6 boxes, maybe 7 or 10, depending on how busy the previous day was. But they're always restocking boxes. It's great. You can get them for free. Just ask, hey, you guys got any extra boxes? Yeah, here's 7 or 8. Take them all if you want for free.
Wow. Nothing wrong with free. I like it.
Yeah, that's what my wife said. She goes, you don't want a cigar box? I'm like, I've got boxes in my garage for my dad, full of cigar boxes. I'm like, no, I don't need any cigar boxes. But
not for $10.
No. No, they're like, no, these are authentic Cuban wood boxes. I was like, Cuban my ass. Yeah.
All right. Well, we got our special guest with us this week. We got Kelly Lynn. Kelly has done just about anything and everything you can think of, to be honest with you. He a man of many talents. Politician, we were talking about that earlier, right? Does some of that. He was a lawyer, judge, entrepreneur, and lately, his big thing lately, podcast host. You're doing it all, Kelly. So how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. I appreciate you guys having me on. Nice to meet you all. like I said, maybe you say all that, but maybe I'm just a guy that doesn't know what he wants to be when he grows up. Is probably an easier way to say it. I find something, these things come my way, and I say, okay, that sounds cool. Let's go. And it
Yeah.
just happens. And uh, it's been a lot of great experience, and it's brought a lot of value to my life for many situations, having all these different hats that I've worn. And now we're on to the new one with a new podcast coming out, launching real soon, and I'm going to try to have some pretty good national exposure on it and some national guests. I'm really looking forward to that. We got some pretty good folks lined up, lots of veterans,
Very
some
nice.
well-known veterans. I'm not putting anybody's name out yet until we have them secured down and have them lined up and ready to rock and roll. But it's all looking good. People that have said, "Yeah, we want to do that." I've got a great PR girl working for me, and I think it's going to turn out all right. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how it goes
Very
with the
nice.
law business and doing the judge stuff at the same time. See if I can keep myself from getting in trouble. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be tough, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, you gotta watch it a little bit there.
We'll see how it goes. I'll deal with it
Yeah.
as it comes, as I always do. Like I
Yeah,
said, we
yeah.
were talking earlier, Kelly said that that's a name of trouble, and I've probably been that guy, and that somehow I make my way through it every time.
Yeah, absolutely. I like it. So, hey, tell us a little bit about kind of your history. I hit a couple of things, but kind of walk us through everything that you got going on.
Well, I will tell you, military wise, I joined back in 2007. I was a single father of two girls. Somehow joined the Arkansas National Guard, came in for a little bit, was an enlisted guy, and then at some point they said, "Hey, we think you should go the officer route." So they threw me through that, went through the Alabama Military Academy Accelerated OCS program, which is a pretty brutal program. I will say, don't let the National Guard trick you on that, because they try to make it up what the federal program is, and is in about 12 to 14 weeks, depending on when they're running it. And they condense all that down to 8 weeks, and no weekends off or anything like that, like some of the federal guys get when they're going through OCS. And they just, I think they try to pump it up quite a bit so they're not looked down upon in the National Guard. They make it tough. It was a tough course. It was one of the toughest things I ever did. And I bet you about anybody that went through that would agree with you that it wasn't easy. But
Yeah.
after that, I came out and led a paladin platoon for a little bit and did that. And I got into law school and finally came over to the Oklahoma Guard, because I was in Oklahoma to go to law school, and it was pretty long drill weekends, affecting my grades and whatnot, trying to accomplish that goal. So when I came to the Oklahoma Guard, I went into officer to instruct at the officer candidate school, and eventually became a senior instructor for the state of Oklahoma for the officer candidate school before they shipped me off to Afghanistan back in 17 and 18. There, I got a little broken, doing some stuff. No cool guy stories to go along with it, just some hardcore training, whatnot. Came back, and then they said, "Hey, yeah, you're broken." And I went through the warrior transition unit, came out 100% disabled, came back and kicked back up the law office, and then somehow became a judge. And even during that time, if you see behind me, Fortunate Sons, that's one of our programs. I started a nonprofit back in 2016 after I lost my brother, Captain William Kendall Lynn, won the 22 a day, and figured what can I do? How can I take this bad situation and fix it so nobody else feels this? I know that's impossible, but we do the best that we can. And with this program, we have it rocking and rolling. We have it where we call it deployment therapy, where we have recreated the purpose, camaraderie, and adventure that you miss from leaving the service. We have worked with a Christian missionary down in Nicaragua. We send our folks down there, and for their purpose, they help feed the locals. They help build cement floors in their dirt floor housing. And then we give them all the camaraderie and adventure they can handle, from surfing and hiking and riding motorcycles through the jungles and up volcanoes and hiking volcanoes and swimming in waterfalls, surfing and fishing. And it's just an amazing time. And I feel like it's one of the most unique programs out there. It's really growing. We have our first all-female event coming up this November. We've taken a break now. Just had guys come back from the trip a couple of weeks ago, but we're taking a break now because of the weather and the rainy season and everything like that. That kind of slows us down for a little bit. We'll do November, and then we start it back up full force in January and have a group go. We usually have about 10 go, and they go for a week at a time, all expenses paid by us. And they're there just for the healing. And then we try to plug them into programs after that they can continue. Try to follow up with them. And we have them in all these little chat groups. And these guys just keep staying in contact. And they're going and visiting each other just after they've met down there. So it really is starting to build a community with these folks. And the results have been fantastic so far. Along the way, we've helped a lot of people. We've kept some people on this earth. And that's my goal in life right there. The overall organization is called 22 Shenanigans. We have several different programs underneath it. We have 22 Outdoors where we do a lot of hunting and fishing events, take veterans on that. Working on my Master's of Divinity also, and call that Those Who Serve will be that ministry. And eventually I'll get that out done with all these other things I'm doing at the same time. And but I think a little bit of God focus on some of that, it really does help some people. And especially in the veteran community, there's sometimes that's a little lacking in some of their lives. And come around when you see the rest of us burly animals that hey man, we've depended on God to get through this, and they take from our example, and it really helps some souls that are lost from the time they spent in the service and the things they've seen. And then all the things that come after that with the PTSD and whatnot. I think we're doing a pretty good job. What we're doing is just growing like gangbusters right now. And I feel like it's going to be pretty big here pretty quick, especially with my podcast, if it goes according to plan. It's everything I do about money-wise pours into this thing.
Right.
My poor family's eating ramen noodles while I'm sending people to Nicaragua. So, but it's all for a great purpose.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've done lots of different veteran interviews, and it is surprising. Well, I guess it's not for us, but for maybe civilians that are listening, how many veterans actually end up in alcohol, like alcohol abuse, drug abuse, those types of things. And it does take them a while to kind of see their way out of that and be able to push through it. So having organizations like you have is an incredible thing for them to be able to focus on and be able to pull themselves out and see that there is a community out there for them. It's just a matter of figuring out which community to get involved with. And then always, pushing religion, God, and those types of things. It always helps. That's a fantastic thing as well.
Well, one of the main things is when you're in the military, you constantly have purpose. You never go without having purpose. You might sit around like, what are we doing today? But generally, you have an overall purpose. You got something to get up to go do. And when you leave that behind, and especially if that's what you've known for a majority of your life, if you've been on active duty and you've done that 15, 20 years, and then you're just thrown in the civilian world. And then let's be honest, you're a veteran, you've done this stuff. The civilian world's totally different. People that have never experienced these things, never had that same camaraderie, that same purpose. And then let's be honest, that adventure part, when you're getting to fire a weapon, throw grenades, maybe not even in a gunfight, there's still some kind of adrenaline rush and something like that that sticks with you. And that's why a lot of these guys have become crazy adrenaline junkies after that, trying to recapture that. And we try to put that on a level where they're also getting that purpose of serving others and feeling reward and fulfillment and knowing that their life still has that purpose, that they could still contribute, that they could still have this community. They could still get out there. We got old guys. I'm broken. I'm 100% disabled. I still went and did all this stuff. Yeah, was I a little sore and beat up? Surfing's rough. Surfing's rough, especially if you've never done it. It was, and that's right where we're at. It's one of the top surfing locations in all the world. It's one of the top 5 surfing locations. It's right there where we're at. And then you'd be surprised at how many vets go down there. We got a guy that his name's Greg Baker. That's our program director. He was a first sergeant in the Rangers, and I would describe him as I tell everybody he's like the real life GI Joe, because that dude spent more time in war as a soldier, and then couldn't give it up as a civilian. When I went to Afghanistan, he was our top security guy, like defensive security guy that was evaluating everything, going out with teams. But he was just a contractor that was embedded with everybody. So he never really left. I don't know how many years, but it was a whole lot if you put it on his resume. And you know, it's therapeutic for him too, because he's lost a lot of guys along the way. And him being able to do this, it's his way of giving back. I'm sure it helps him out a ton too. I know it does me. It's my purpose. So it's just an amazing experience. I love what we're doing. We're reaching people. Like I said, it's only growing. We got people lined up to go. We're working all the time on funding for it. We're trying to get it to fund itself. We have different products and merchandise and whatnot, and different events that, you know, I hate being like, hey, can you give me some money all the time, which I'm not above that. And I know plenty of people that are willing to donate, but if we can make it fund itself, which is the goal, then that's so much better, because it's just rocking and rolling, and we're getting close to that. So not that I'm above saying, hey, you throw in a few bucks to help this, because I've done that plenty of times.
Yeah.
But I feel my time's better spent not having to do that. And if we can just have it set up where it funds itself, I'm much more happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of funding it, we just recently, when I reached out to you and everything, and you just started a thing called TrumpShirt.com, where 100% of that goes back into your organization. So that's a perfect example of the types of things you're doing.
Absolutely. We have that. We have a wine that is made from California, from a beautiful vineyard in California I wish I'd have brought it. I just got a case of it that we give those as gifts. $300 or more. It's not a $300 bottle of wine, but $300 or more. We'll give you this beautiful bottle of wine with our label on it and the story on the back. It's pretty cool. T-shirts. We got some cigars coming with our label on them.
Nice.
So they're not going to be the cheapest, you know, $5 for $100. It's all a gift. It's not like, hey, these are the most elaborate things in the world. They're nice, but we're saying, hey, we'll give you this nice thing for you supporting us. We also have, at some point, whenever we can get to it, a whiskey coming that we get to go blend ourselves, and it's going to be nice. And we might have some fancy people that might pick that up and help us promote it. Some people you might know. We're working on it. Some musicians and whatnot.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. We all like whiskey here, and cigars and all that good stuff. It's a good thing to indulge in every now and again.
Yeah,
so
especially if you have this Fortunate Sons label on it and see that in the liquor store, and know that all the profits go to support this program. That's amazing. And that's how we hope to do it. Just have certain few products. We have people that wanted to put us out of coffee. I don't know if that's just too oversaturated or whatnot, but it's all happening. It's just a little time and juggling and getting everything done. Like I said, I'm a pretty busy guy with all the crazy things I do, especially my law office. We do insane things. I have no idea what we're doing all the time with the craziest cases that we take on, but they're pretty big and they're impactful towards the government and the citizens as a whole. So we're doing some big things that might make some big changes. And any of that, like I said, any money I have left over, I just throw it at this anyway.
Yeah. You know, every now and again, maybe I can throw in some money and get you some steak for the family every now and again instead of just ramen. You know. So
well, they're still kicking. Their belly's full.
It's all right.
Get filled
We
up
eat
on
ramen all the
39
time.
cents. I don't care.
Yeah. Ramen's good. I like it. You know. In fact, we were talking. I don't remember if it's on our podcast. We did it recently, but spam. I enjoy spam. You know, that's one of my favorite things to fry up and eat. So you know, I'm all about some of the cheap food.
Is it anything like fried bologna along those lines?
It is. Yeah, it's very similar. Yeah.
I could go for it then.
Fried bologna is good too.
Second batch.
Say
What's
it again,
that?
Aaron.
I said Hormel just released their second batch. Remember that?
Yeah.
Wow.
They're still just got to their second batch that they released, he says.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you're talking about veteran suicide. That's a huge, huge thing, and trying to prevent that. There are many, many different organizations out there that are working toward that. The Till Valhalla Project. That is one that I've been working with that has been doing stuff. Just interviewed a guy from Grunt Style. So what does that say? No More Dead Friends. That's one of the shirts that they just came out with. But that's an incredible cause, and trying to figure something out, and you being proactive in that, and giving them other ways and other things to do, so they feel that self-worth again and feel like they're part of something is an incredible thing.
It's awesome. At some point, we'll put out some of the messages and the stories that we've got from this guy. Like I've got years worth of videos and interviews, and I just been sitting on them. But pretty soon, once we get this podcast going, and like I told you, my guy that has the stuff that we can sit here and edit it together and do everything with it. I have no doubt that will probably be my big fundraiser, because I have no doubt that we can get it put together and somebody will snatch it up and buy it, because we could do a 4, 5, 6 episode series, launch like just like Netflix or some service like that. I bet you that we can get it done. And I promise you, some of the interviews are killer. And we're talking about like wives of soldiers, talking about the problems with PTSD and the things that they've faced with it. And it's just, we have some amazing footage that will be compelling. And I have no doubt that if we get that done, that this thing it'll be funded for a good long while. I have no doubt. That's one of my goals. And then signed a book deal too. At some point that'll be finished up. And like I said, any of that extra stuff I do just fine as a living. Any of these extra things, all that money's for this.
Yeah.
All that money's for this. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know if my wife likes that. Excuse me.
She's still with you, so you're doing all right.
She's still with me.
Yeah.
At some point, I think this thing's going to be funding itself, and it'll just be the mission, and we'll grow and expand it and make it what I've envisioned in my head and what my partners have envisioned for some time now.
Yeah. And you said that the name of it is 22 Shenanigans. Is that right?
That is, and that name comes from the 22 a day. And then a story I told about my brother. And I'll tell you if you want, at his funeral.
Sure, yeah.
All right. Okay. So we were hoodlums. Definitely been hoodlums all our life, but we had this 13-year-old neighbor. My brother was probably 10. I was probably 8. One day my mom was running to the store, going somewhere for a little bit, and she just looked at us. She goes, "You listen here, no shenanigans while I'm gone. I'm telling you, no shenanigans." And of course, I'm the little one that's always getting beat up by the other two. But this day, it was my brother and me and the older neighbor tagging up on the brother. We had this big long driveway. We had 5 acres in the middle of town, kind of wooded. It was an awesome place to grow up, because we were like in the country, but in the middle of town. But we had this big long driveway, and you're just in town when you go to the end of it. We're at the end of the driveway, and somehow we get him and we're holding him down and we're stripping him naked. And while we're doing it, he's just screaming, "This is shenanigans! This is shenanigans!" And we run off, and he had these like knee-high socks and these Velcro over shoes, and he just had a leaf covering him, running through the woods with his little naked butt. It was covering his front, and just screaming shenanigans. And and I told that story because, believe me, there's plenty of stories about us two knuckleheads that a lot of these people knew at this funeral. And it was crazy that my brother's funeral had the Missouri Guard, the Oklahoma Guard.
Wow.
I would tell you, it was the largest funeral I've ever been to in our hometown, anywhere. You would have thought it was the governor. There was people that couldn't even get in this giant church. And then the cop cars, because he was a U.S. Marshal. Also, the marshals were there.
Wow.
It was crazy, and just the miles of cop cars that led this procession. It was the most mind blowing funeral I've ever been to, and I was like, "This is my brother." You would have thought he was like a governor or something. It was that big, and it was just a hometown guy. And literally, we were such hoodlums. We kind of got ran off from that hometown when we were little because we got in so much trouble. Because my dad died when I was 13, and we kind of went crazy about putting my mom in the loony bin because of what wild animals we were. And then we turned out all right, and now they have us hanging in full color on their main street in our uniforms, celebrating our service with the other veterans. So it's been quite a turn there, and I think we've mended those fences from when I was 18 or so. I was on a path, should have been dead or in prison by the time I was 21, no doubt. And somehow I turned all that around, thanks to God. He had a different plan for me. But like I said, there wasn't much that most of these people didn't know, but they didn't know that story. So I thought I had to give them something that they've never heard before. We started forming this organization, trying to think of it. And some of the guys that helped me form it said, shenanigans. That's what we do. We're always up to some shenanigans. When we go to Nicaragua, there's plenty of shenanigans too. The surfing, the fishing, we're fun loving. I'm always like, what? This sounds like fun. Let's do it. So some people take shenanigans as something bad or negative, but I'm just like, oh, that was some pretty good times, maybe acting a little rowdy. But nobody died. We're good. We're good. So and that stuck with it. But underneath that, we have those different programs. This Fortunate Sons, that's the one that I'm really working on that has come together. We tried to put that together with my GI Joe friend Greg Baker in 2019 is when we started, but then COVID came along, shut down that country for traveling, for basically just like everywhere else, but it didn't really open back up till 2023. We started looking at it. Was it 2023? And he said, hey, are we going to do this? And that's when I went down and did the solo thing. And I said, I got to see it first before I even got landed back in America. They'd already planned the dates for the next trip. And I was like, what? We don't have any funding or anything. And I said, hey, keep it. The funding will come. And I put in a lot of prayer. And we did February, January, or November, February, January, February. We did 6 trips so far, I think. 5 trips since November this last year. And just rolling through, and it costs us about $2,000 a veteran, and we send about 10 each time, something like that. And God's delivered on everything.
Absolutely.
God's delivered on everything. So that's where I'm at with that. And I'm just so thankful. We've had some private help, but like I said, most time, we've done all right. Where I'm just like, it's easier for me to just write the check than I can do it. Especially because I was running a campaign during this time, and didn't want to ask for money donations out both sides of my mouth from the people I know. So if I asked for donations, I wanted it to go towards this.
Right. That's very nice. And now you with the organization, you said started in November of last year when you actually first started sending people.
Yes.
Is that right?
We've had this organization started back in 2016 as 22 Shenanigans, and we've done all the different stuff. We've gone to sporting events. Like one of the first big things, I took like 50 or 60 people down to Texas for ball games, and they took us out on the field and recognized us. And, we were able to pay for about 50 people in their hotel rooms and all kinds. They were able to bring their families. And we were able to fly people in from around the country to join us. And that's where we did a lot of these interviews and stuff like that. And but we just started this program. Like I said, the concept was in 2019, and we weren't able to even execute on it. I didn't think it was ever going to happen until he called me back up and he said, you want to try it? I'm back down here. Because he actually lives down there part of the year because he's a surf junkie. And he comes back for Georgia football. and I won't hold that against him either. But he was down there, and I said, "Let me go see it." And man, I fell in love with it. I about didn't want to come back. It is a different place for sure. The time doesn't really matter. It was the most amazing thing driving down the road on these dirt roads through the jungle on these dirt bikes. And there's little pigs just running on the side of the road, and there's ox-drawn carriages, and it's just stepping back in time. And everybody lives so simple. And even if they don't have a lot of money or anything, they have food, they have the beauty around them. It was awesome. It was one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life, and your money goes very far there. You can eat like a king. Literally, I think you could retire down there like a king for about $2,000 a month and have a nice house, somebody to buy your groceries and cook and clean for you for $2,000.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Then you don't have to do anything. It's like, it doesn't matter if it's Monday or Saturday. It doesn't matter. It's one of the craziest things. I just tell people, tell people about riding these dirt bikes, and we had to get some gas. So we just pull up to say, we got to go to the gas station. Okay. They'll fall into the gas station, pulls into somebody's house. And this grandma comes out and he goes, "Trace liters." And she comes out with one bucket full with 1 liter and another bucket full of 2 liters. Pours her out. I don't know where she's keeping gas in the house or what's going on. I don't know, but it was so different. It was just blown away how much different they live and how happy they are without all the nonsense that we have here. And they just enjoy life a ton. And it is a great place. Fishing straight out of the ocean and then going and eating the fish the same day. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Wow. So for anybody out there that's wanting to help you guys out, they hear your story and they want to contribute, what's the best way for them to be able to do that?
The best way, and we're going to work and revamp this website, but it's been up and it's getting the job done for now. It's deploymenttherapy.com. Deploymenttherapy.com. That was just our concept that we called this, and that's what we're sticking with. And underneath that, it has all our different programs that we have under there. Working on everything. Soon enough, we'll have a bigger, fancier website with different stuff. We'll have our products on there for one. Right now, we just have those where we're doing them individually. Like, hey, thank you for your contribution. Here's your T-shirt. Thank you for your contribution. Here's your bottle of wine. Thank you. But it's going pretty good with all that. And like I said, just a little bit of time on my end to get some stuff cleaned up. I should join the circus with all the juggling I'm doing. Barnum and Bailey I'd be their top guy.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely got a lot on your plate. But I want to say thanks for coming on and just sharing this. This is, absolutely incredible organization that you got going on, and great things that you guys are doing. So thanks for coming on and sharing that.
Oh, I absolutely appreciate it. This is an absolute pleasure to sit around and talk to you guys. I'm starting this podcast, but this is probably the first one I've ever been on that besides the episode I shot for myself the other day.
Yeah.
So it's a whole new world, and I see a whole lot of it in the future here because absolutely, it's about to get crazy. It's about to get crazy in my life, and we'll see how much more I can juggle, I guess.
Yeah, very nice. Well, hey, what we do typically is everybody has their own little segment that we they'll bring some news up, and then we kind of talk and discuss that news. So definitely join in on these conversations, and because I'd love to hear your input on everything that's going on as well. So it should be a good discussion. And then toward the end, we will get to words of wisdom. So I'll give you a little extra time to kind of think about that as we're approaching that. But we'll get there eventually. But yeah, hang on and please discuss with us and just have a good time. It sound good to you?
Absolutely. Let's go.
All right. Awesome. All right, let's go veteran news with Vic. You got to hit the mute button.
I'm getting there. All right. You mean military news, Mike?
Sorry, yeah, that's right. Military news. I apologize.
Today, China released a statement. Speaking, a spokesperson for China military advises the U.S. and Japan to set aside the Cold War mentality. The growing military cooperation is a nuclear threat and will exacerbate the regional tensions. So recently, the U.S. U.S. and Japan have engaged in 4 different exercises this year, 2 in February and 2 in June. Keen Edge, Iron Fist, Freedom Edge, and Valiant Shield. And China is starting to get upset because, of course, everybody suspects that China wants to either invade Taiwan or Japan or both. So there is definitely the U.S. And China and South Korea are all teaming up to let China know that it's not an option. So sit down, China. But China is starting to bolster. And I've been talking about the posturing going on for quite a bit with China and how tensions, but this is one more escalation. China's starting to get upset that everybody's going to start fighting back. So we'll see where it goes.
Wow. That's going to be wild. The things that are happening around the world are absolutely insane right now.
Yep. Let's see. Biden, the prime minister for Japan is Fumio Kishida, and then the South Korean president Yoon Suk Yeol put out a statement on Sunday today, which emphasized deepening military relations, economic cooperation, as well as creating an alliance against China's growing power in the region and confronting North Korea's threats. So, yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Wildness.
That's all I got. I yield the rest of my time.
That's it? I see your cigar's going pretty good there. You've shown the ash a couple of times. I know we're getting jumping ahead. Oh, no. You had a runner.
I got a runner, and this is my second one. So I just kind of show people if they're following, if they even care. Just like this is like when I show a picture of it, it's usually I'm trying to show off the construction, which I keep getting runners. So
I think it was the wrapper that was around it. That's probably what it was. I'm no cigar.
Leaf by Oscars are normally a kind of loosely wrapped cigar, so they burn real quick. So if you're anything close to a quick smoker, you're probably going to get runners in these cigars.
Interesting. Well, that's good to know. Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead. We'll move on to current news with Aaron.
All right, so no big surprises this week. Actually, didn't find much other than the DNC begins this week. We'll see how their honeymoon ends, but I tell them good luck. Update from Thursday, Zelensky. Ukraine has reported that they have blown up a second bridge in the Kursk region. However, there's no details on that, so who knows? But Zelensky.
I saw Russia. I guess it was Putin or somebody in Russia said that the America was the ones that provided the weaponry for them to be able to do that in Russia, right? Because that was one of the big things that they had said before.
I didn't find that in the story I found, but Zelensky says that Ukraine is getting stronger in the Kursk as troops blow up a second bridge, and that's basically the headline. And they kind of go into they don't even give details on where the bridge was. They just said in the region. But that being said, Zelensky stated that the incursion into Russia was to basically build a buffer zone. But they're still getting torn up in eastern Ukraine. So I don't know how much of a buffer zone you need there.
Well, they trapped Russian troops when they blew up the first bridge, did they not?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Very
it's kind of
interesting.
a preventative measure, I guess, from them coming from that direction. I've actually been looking for a map of kind of how the battle's going there, but I can't find anything. So not on open source anyway. Maybe I get the job this next week and I can find a map somewhere.
Yeah, I bet you can if you get the job. Hey, the guy that we had on before, I bet you he has got maps and stuff. I'll reach out to him and ask.
I guarantee you he does.
Yeah, I'll reach out to him and ask.
Not sure
I bet he does.
Share with us though.
Oh no, he'll share it. He'll share. He may have a different viewpoint, but he'll share it with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would argue to say that his viewpoint was really conspiracy type.
So some of it for sure. Go ahead, Kelly.
I was gonna say if I'd come back and ask you about the DNC and what you thought about, because they're already planning these crazy big protests, the Palestinian protests and whatnot, and it's in Chicago.
Yeah.
I just have a worry that there's going to be some death and violence happening from this somehow. It's going to get out of hand. And I mean, I don't know who gets blamed for that at that point.
I think that's kind of the point. That's kind of their point. That's what they want.
Yeah. I agree with you, Kelly. So, so has everybody heard of Sheriff Grady Judd? Surely everybody has.
Mm-hmm.
You have not. So he's the sheriff for Polk County, which is the county right next to me. I'm still in Hillsborough County, but I'm on the eastern side of Hillsborough County in Florida. He's the sheriff of Polk County, and he is a sheriff that does not play. He's
the sheriff. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's the one that said if you come into our county and you try to go into somebody's house, you deserve to die. Is pretty much what he did say those words, but.
Yeah, something along the lines of that. But he said we encourage homeowners to protect their property.
Right. I think I saw that on the news then.
Yeah, that's his opinion. Is everybody can legally own a gun or a handgun.
Yeah,
should have it. That way, they have the ability to protect themselves at that point.
Yeah. So they did a bust not too long ago. The interview I seen him in. And just kind of a backstory to that is he did the interview and he talked about they did a bust of Colombian gang members are getting very sophisticated, and apparently they were here in Polk County and they followed some Asian American business owners, and then they found ways into their house, circumvented the alarm systems and all this stuff, and stole like 1 I'd be lying if I gave you the exact number, but we'll estimate it at $1.5 million worth of stuff from their homes. And apparently there are still 2 on the loose. I'll give you a follow up to what I purchased this weekend. But anyway, all that to be said, he goes into talking about the DNC, back to the DNC and the protests that are going on there. So apparently the city of Chicago has reached out to other law enforcement agencies across the nation for support. And Sheriff Grady Judd said, I will not send my guys up there because if one of them does their job, then the city of Chicago may be willing to charge my deputy for doing his job. He goes, I'm not sending my deputies to blue cities and blue states to support when, like you just mentioned, there's going to be riots. We know there's going to be riots. It's going to get out of hand. And when law enforcement steps in to try to perform their job, something's going to happen. And next thing you know, we're going to have law enforcement officers being put on trial for doing their job. And it's sickening.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's, I don't know, it should never happen. Now, don't get me wrong. There are law enforcement that maybe goes too far from time to time, but I would say the vast majority do not, and they do the right things. But with the current climate in certain states and certain cities, it's definitely makes it difficult for people to do their job.
Yeah, and you're definitely putting them in a hostile environment.
Mm-hmm.
especially knowing that there's going to be protests there. They'll find a way to swing it and say it was MAGA.
Yeah. It'll happen. Yeah. Blame
no.
on,
I'm sure they will all be peaceful protests. I mean, things will be burning down in the background, but they'll be peaceful protests.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
And,
True.
And all the business owners and all those people have insurance. That's what it's for.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Krista?
We just definitely need to pray, guys. That
yeah,
keep everybody in our prayers, because I don't want anybody to get hurt. I just, I don't.
No, I do have friends up in Chicago, and you're absolutely right, Chris. I pray that everything goes all right and none of them are affected. But sometimes, you got to think about reality here and how they've kind of set this up themselves. They've stacked the deck against them, I guess you could say.
These are kind of the people on the same side riding against the side they support. It's kind of crazy.
Right.
And with what went on with the colleges, with what went on with the colleges, I don't.
Because that side defends them. That's what they want.
Yeah, it's not crazy. I don't think it's crazy because, I mean, if you look throughout history, whenever the evil cannot accomplish their mission or accomplish their task, they always eat their own. Always. Mm-hmm. That's what this is. All these protests that are going to happen are going to be the far liberal side eating its own. We've seen it over and over in history. Yep. I saw an article, actually it was like an interview just a couple of days ago, maybe yesterday, 2 days ago, something like that. A woman that was a young woman, I'd probably put her in her late 20s, was a Democrat, worked at Bernie Sanders event, and then she basically went to a Republican event, to a Trump rally, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, the people are so different." At the Bernie Sanders, she goes, "I was there working as as a Democrat, person, guiding people where to go and all this kind of stuff." Goes, it was like everybody there was like, it just had like this feeling of depression, and everybody was angry at everyone, and there was verbal arguments, and things almost turned into fights, all this kind of stuff. And she goes, but then when I went to this Trump rally, man, everybody was so nice. Everybody was respectful. She goes, I dropped my ID, and it kind of went down in between the bleachers, and people were getting out their cell phones and helping me look for it and everything. She goes, it was night and day. I'm never going to vote Democrat again.
Wow.
And it might have been staged. I mean, she might have been faking it. I don't know. It might have been AI for all I know. But like, I want to believe that there are people out there that are starting to see the light. I hope. I pray.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. I mean, you can also look at the Trump rally whenever he got shot in his ear, and you look around at the audience, everybody that was there. There was no stampeding. There was like nothing crazy went down. I mean, obviously, getting shot and shooting people is crazy, but I'm talking from the audience perspective. Like nothing crazy happened. They all just stood there and they waited and they did what they had to do. But that does not happen on the other side a lot of times.
No.
Do you have anything else for us, Aaron?
Shifting gears a little bit, and don't want to delay it too long. We can stay back and talk after. But Kelly, you may have noticed my hat that I'm wearing. So I would like to welcome the OU fans to the SEC.
Hey, we'll see how that goes here pretty quick.
Roll Tide.
No, Arkansas may be one of the worst teams in football in the SEC. Hey. We will challenge everybody.
Hey, look, I am a fan divided. I lived in Arkansas for a long time. I lived in Fayetteville for a while. I love Fayetteville. That's where all my wife's family lives in Northwest Arkansas. We're up there quite a bit. I cannot wait for them to. I wish they would play Arkansas this year.
Yeah.
And I love it. I'm a woo pig boomer, I guess. I don't know. Because I root for both, and yeah. I don't know how it's going to go when we're playing each other, because it's hard to be a Razorback fan, though. It's just one of the most grueling things in the world. I used to work for ESPN Radio and run the baseball games.
Oh, okay.
Back in the day, back in like 2008, 2009, I was doing that while I was finishing up college, and I'd run the run the baseball games. And
Nice.
that was fun. Oh, Chuck Barrett was one of the best radio guys I've ever heard.
Nice. What guard unit were you in the National Guard?
Here in Oklahoma, I was in the 180th, and that's part of the 45th. I was at the 45th at headquarters for a little bit as the assistant fire support officer. Didn't get to do that too long because they snagged me up and went to Afghanistan. And I kind of said, "Hey, I'm going to get out of here if you don't send me to Afghanistan." Because actually, the unit I went with, the 180th, the last time they deployed, my brother was the troop commander of that unit. So
wow,
that was it was kind of a neat deal. I got to take his Stetson and do the spur stuff over in Afghanistan and wear his Stetson. So it was pretty meaningful. And so there's a lot of dudes that I went with that had been pretty close with him. So we were in uniform at the same time, the Captain's Lynn. And that's the title of my book, The Captain's Lynn. But we never got to hang out. We never got to serve together or anything like that because we're just in different spaces at different times. And it was pretty neat. And that in January for this Nicaragua trip, I'm going and I'm taking a bunch of dudes that served with him and a lot of our friends that were also in the military, that were our best buddies that also served in the military. So that's going to be a pretty good one that we're going to get some good interviews from. Lots of shenanigans stories in that one. When I say shenanigans, I'm not even kidding. When I was 15 years old, I was hanging out in the bar and hanging out till 3 o'clock in the morning with the bouncers, and it was like Roadhouse. We were out there, and I was 15. I thought that was normal life for everybody. I tell these stories, and people are like, "What are you talking about? We didn't live like that." I was like, well, I thought it was normal. We were drinking beer and fist fighting in the bars when I was 15. This bar didn't care if you had any ID. You only had to be 18 to get in there. I had dudes that were white as all get out, used a black guy's ID to get in there. Like, come on in, give me your $5 and drink some beer. And it was table clearing, chair throwing. It was Roadhouse, and it was pretty constant like that. And that's what we did. And we were hooligans, and like I said, shenanigans full of them. Plenty of good stories like that. And it was just a different time and place. I can't do that now.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Very true. Now, where specifically did you grow up, you said?
Poteau, Oklahoma.
In Poteau. Yeah, that's how. Okay. So I went to school with Justin Hebert in like kindergarten or first grade.
I know Justin's a good buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to visit with him this last go around. The last time last time we probably saw each other was my wedding, to be honest with you, and that was 28 years ago.
I got plenty of shenanigan stories with that guy too.
Well, you're gonna have to let me in on some of those secrets.
He was at that bar with us. Plenty of times.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Well, I'm glad they put us in contact with you, so that's a good deal.
That's awesome. Yeah, those are good folks. His dad was one of my first coaches, T-ball coaches. I'm really good friends with his sister too. Just saw them. They came up, her and her husband and daughter, and saw them not too long ago, and been friends with them basically my entire life. I've never not remembering knowing them.
Yeah. Were you in the same grade as him growing up?
He was a grade above me, and his sister was a grade or two below me.
Okay, I got you.
So I was in the middle of them, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, he was because I played on his on the T-ball team, and then also played soccer with him for a couple of seasons before we
Did you play on my T-ball team? Because I was on his T-ball team.
I have no idea. Maybe.
It was like C&B or something like that.
Yeah, I think so. I used to have pictures from it, but I'd have to pull it back, go see if I could find them.
Yeah, his dad was my T-ball coach, so we might have been on at the same time, I'm guessing.
I'll hit up Justin and ask him that, because that's pretty wild. Huh? Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, we totally took over the conversation, Aaron.
Yeah, no worries. I was just gonna let him know before we move on. I was in the Arkansas National Guard for a couple of years, from 2004 to 2006, and then I came back in.
I didn't come in until 2007, but I was in the 142nd. Well, I don't
142nd
remember
Field Artillery. Yep.
Yeah, that was when I commissioned. Before that, I had my brother and one of my other buddies that was a drill sergeant. Because I was a single father, they convinced me to do 42 Alpha, which was human resources. And I was like, why? Because I wanted to do all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And and I got stuck in some unit, and I was like, this is not what I signed up for. And I never once really did anything that was human resources. 8 weeks of learning how to write a memo, which was helpful as an officer, to be honest with you, but I never got to do anything. And I loved it when they got got picked as combat arms as an officer. I was like, finally. And boy, those paladins out there at Fort Chaffee, they'll shake the earth. And it's pretty fun to send some of those downrange, and you firing the whole line, 6 of them at a time. Come on. Pretty awesome, those 155s.
Nice.
That was some good fun. And doing all the training for that in the Fort Observer and just dropping in rounds. And man, yeah, I loved it. I never got to use it anywhere except in training, though, for that kind of stuff. For that, because I came over and went with a cab to Afghanistan. But yeah, I loved it. What unit were you in?
I was in the well, at that time it was the 35th Aviation Brigade, and I think they ended up becoming the 77th Theater Aviation Brigade, I believe, something like that. It was right out of Camp Robinson in Little Rock.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time there during my OCS days.
Yeah.
Small world.
Small world.
Indeed.
Yep. Gotta love it. Well, Mike disappeared on us. He's probably had to go make a head call. That's okay. We could go ahead and skip over to history, military history with Krista. You want to jump in, Krista?
Well, I can. It's getting late. Do you want to just pass tonight? We can pass.
No, we're good. If it goes a little over, it's no big deal. I mean, we're having a good time, I think.
Okay. And I've kind of made it short a little bit for us.
Okay.
All right. We'll start. In 1191, we're talking about some of the bullets here. Crusader King, I don't know if I'd call him a crusader or not because he was a king. King Richard I kills 3,000 Muslim prisoners in Akko.
Wow.
So, he always trying to make the world England, huh? In 1866, President Andrew Johnson formally declares the Civil War over. Mike, we bumped you, sorry. He's like, okay. In 1915, a mob lynches a Jewish businessman named Leo Frank in Cobb County, Georgia, which is where I spent my childhood. After the death sentence for a murderer of a 13-year-old girl was commuted to life. So now we covered this the other night, and this will be my profile about in 1900, 2,000 Marines landed to capture Beijing, ending the Boxer Rebellion, and that's what we'll follow up on here in a minute. In 1920, Tennessee ratifies the 19th Amendment guaranteeing women the right to vote, and we'll follow up on that next week. This is this weekend, by the way, in history, this weekend, which is this August, what is it, the 16th, 17th, and 18th? And all the states, just so you know, states had to ratify, all the states had to ratify the 19th Amendment before they could make it a constitutional amendment. Okay, y'all are going to not love this one. I say love it, and I don't mean it literally like in a positive way. In 1934, Hitler was elected Führer with 95.7% of German voters.
Wow. No kidding. 97%.
In 1956,
he was a very good speaker, and
very charismatic
to get people.
Yes.
Yeah, charismatic. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, here's my, it's not really in my era one, but this is our non-military one. 1956, Elvis Presley's Hound Dog and Don't Be Cruel reached #1 in the charts, staying there for 11 weeks. So Elvis Presley.
My wife will appreciate that one. Thank you.
Gotta always have something musical, right? Usually we do baseball. So in 1960, the first photograph bounced off a satellite in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. In 1964, LBJ signs y'all, and I know Vic will appreciate this one. In 1964, LBJ signs an anti-poverty measure totaling nearly $1 billion.
We're still paying for it today.
We're still paying for it. That the national deficit keeps rising, right?
Yeah.
And in 1974, President Gerald Ford assumes office after Richard Nixon resigns. Got some
Very nice.
Here. All right, going back to 1900, the 2,000 Marines landed to capture Beijing, ending the Boxer Rebellion. You know why they called them the Boxer Rebellion? That the faction was known as the Society of Righteous and Harmonious Fists, so they look like boxers. So my son is majoring in history at Belmont University. So I'm going to cover this kind of as quickly as I can without talking too fast with my hick Southern Alabama, Georgia.
Cobb County, Georgia accent.
Yeah, my Cobb County, Huntsville, Alabama. Redstone Arsenal accent. The reason I want to cover the Boxer Rebellion a little bit is there were only 2 Marine musicians in history to ever receive the Medal of Honor. And we talked about those 33 last week. I just kind of glazed over them. There was a gentleman, and we just recently found out his name. His name was John Alphonsus Murphy. He was born in New York in 1881. He was the son of an Irish immigrant. He enlisted in the Marine Corps and Marine Barracks in 1897. Just shy of his 16th birthday, so 15 years old, right? He would apprentice in music for the next 13 months at the Marine Barracks in D.C. He was tougher. The School of Music was tougher than you realize back then, because at one point he was confined for 3 days with only bread and water. Okay, so maybe he didn't do his musical units or something. I don't know what happened. Or he was caught sleeping in a practice room, possibly. Or failed to put in his hours, who knows. But he was eventually awarded the MOS of drummer. Okay. He would eventually leave New York and sail on the USS Panther en route to the Caribbean. On the USS Panther, that ship was only meant for 400 troops, but 600 were on that Panther, or on the USS Panther. He was with the Marine Battalion. Berthing was extremely tight there. He was with a fifer named Russell Garland. They were assigned to Company A. And they went down to Cuba. They sailed south to Cuba. They were heading there. They got to stop off around Key West, Florida, and they got to try out some new weapons. Well-armed battalion would test their new Lee Navy M1895 rifles, in addition to the 3-inch Hotchkiss mountain gun and Colt Browning machine guns. Their mission was to land, disembark at Guantanamo Bay, and seize the harbor, which was being occupied by Spanish forces. And that was that phase of the Spanish-American War during that time frame. Okay. They inflicted heavy casualties on the Spanish forces with only limited Marine casualties. That operation ended in 1898, and most of those gentlemen were very battle-weary Marines. They eventually hopped on another ship called the USS Resolute, and they headed back to New Hampshire, back to New York. John Murphy would join another seasoned bugler named John Williams on the USS Newark. They headed back to New York, and they were then in New York for a while. And while they were up there, before they got underway to the South Atlantic, they had a group of newbies that joined them on the Newark. And this group of newbies was a 24-year-old private named Dan Daly. We've all heard of him.
Hey-o.
Hey-o. Our guy.
Kelly, this is all Marine Corps history here, Kelly. I apologize, but we're all Marines, and we got to represent some of the Marine history here.
Well, I was waiting to get to the history of the crayon eating. Oh, I'm sorry. That is my
Knuckle dragon. We're dragging Knuckles. Don't worry.
Do you have a delete button, Andrew? Can you?
I know.
I think I'm outnumbered here. I better shut it.
All right. So they picked up that group. The Newark conducted patrols off the coast of South America, passing through the Straits of Magellan en route to San Francisco. And eventually in October, they made it through on voyaging to Cavite, the Philippines. They would lay over in Honolulu in Hawaii. They offloaded Marines for garrison, picked up some insurrectionists, Philippine insurrectionists, and eventually made it to Bataan. By May 22nd in 1900, the Marines would arrive in Taku, China, to protect the American interests and aid in the relief of the expedition. On May 29th, Murphy's detachment was ordered to establish guard at the United States legation, Peking, along with several additional battalions of Marines. There were lots of several additional battalions of Marines. They took a long train ride and went around to different areas to the Boxer area where it was. Over the next 55 days at Peking, Murphy and his fellow Marines would become battle-hardened warriors. Skirmish after skirmish, Marines would set the bar and forge their legacy for future generations. When the smoke began to clear and relief arrived, August 14th of 1900, 17 of the original Marines and sailors had been killed or wounded. 33 enlisted Marines would earn the Medal of Honor. Daniel Daly would receive his first. 7 Marine officers were promoted by the Marine Corps brevet, including First Lieutenant Smedley Darlington Butler, 19-year-old Marine musician. I get emotional. Of course, I cry always. 19-year-old Marine musician John Alphonsus Murphy would receive the Medal of Honor for his actions in defense of the Peking legation. His citation reads, "The President of the United States of America, in the name of Congress, takes pleasure in presenting the Medal of Honor to drummer John Alphonsus Murphy, United States Marine Corps, for extraordinary heroism while serving with the 1st Regiment Marines in action in the presence of the enemy during the action of Peking, China, 21 July to 17 August 1900. Drummer Murphy distinguished himself by meritorious conduct." Now, that seems really plain, but actually back then, all the Medal of Honor citations were written like that. They didn't have all the details like they have now. That was just basic back then.
Mm-hmm.
Murphy would spend several more years as a Marine. He was discharged in March 1902 in Marine Barracks, Boston, and after a few months, he decided to reenlist. He actually got in and out several times and reenlisted. He actually finally got out in November of the same year due to misconduct. And he ended up deserting.
He was into shenanigans.
He was into some big shenanigans. He actually ended up deserting. He was a deserter.
Nice.
So I'm not trying to make it funny, but he actually ended up deserting after receiving his 3rd good conduct. He got his 3rd good conduct at 4:30 one morning and deserted at 4:30 one afternoon and deserted at 6:30 the next day. So, and who knows?
He just had to wait. He just had to wait just enough time to get that 3rd good conduct. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm done."
And we talked about this, that it was at Puget Sound on August 9th, 1906. This after receiving his 3rd good conduct. None of us will ever know his reasoning. Maybe he had just seen enough and figured it was time to leave. Maybe he had a bad feeling because Cuba had turned volatile again. We can speculate but not judge. John would re-enter civilian life and spend 26 years working for Union Oil of California as a stock clerk in Portland, Oregon. John Alphonsus Murphy would pass on November 29th at the age of 54 years old, 9 months and 3 days. He's buried in Rose City Cemetery, Portland, Oregon. But the Peking legation, the Medal of Honor, those guys, what they did there was pretty intense. So, but that was today in history. So
awesome.
A lot of time on that. So.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Krista.
Now that
Mike is back from making his head calls, did everything come out all right, Mike? You okay?
I don't know why he's so
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You didn't have any incidents,
No.
Okay.
No,
That's good to know.
It was all clear. No.
I mean, you're getting up there. You're getting up there in age. We worry about you.
Kelly, close your eyes for a second. Just close your eyes for a second, Kelly. All right, there we go.
Very nice, very nice. All right, hey, let's hear some good news story, Mike. You got any good news stories for us?
Other than you're a magnificent host and a friend, Andrew, you're just, I mean, it's just, I mean,
I was not expecting that at all.
He's such a doll.
That's the good news, yeah.
Huh.
All right, tag gummit, where to go? All right, here we go. So, seems like the majority of you are all from Oklahoma, right?
A good portion of us. A good portion of us.
Aaron, like he claims he is. He doesn't want to say it. But.
Arkansas, Oklahoma, it's all the same.
I came back into the Marine Corps through Fort Smith, Arkansas, which is close enough.
Okay. Gotcha.
You're basically an Oklahoman.
Well, the good news story I have is from August 4th.
All right.
I'm trying to find the town or the county. Pittsburgh County. Does that sound familiar to you guys?
Indeed.
McAllister.
Yeah.
You have a good news story from there? Because there's been nothing but some bad stuff coming out of there for a while.
Well, this one's good. This is an 18-year-old kid.
Okay. No shenanigans here.
Gave away 6,000 backpacks and $1.3 million in school supplies to needy families.
Wow.
He did it all through the 4-H as a 4-H project. That was his project. He set up a fundraiser. 6,000 backpacks stuffed with school supplies.
Good for him.
But the sad thing is, it's not even his first time doing it. It's his 9th annual school backpack giveaway. In 9 years, he's distributed 33,000 backpacks.
Wow.
That's amazing.
To school students and families in Reed's hometown and beyond, including Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas, Aaron.
Huh.
Yeah, take that.
Wow. What was asked what was his motivation? What did he want to do? And he said, I just wanted to help the kids get their school year started off well and good. He said, because I know how tough it is, and my family has suffered in the past, and I just wanted to do what I could. He's a sophomore. He's not even a senior in high school. He's a sophomore. But he's been distributing book bags and school supplies for 9 years.
Holy
He's a member
cow.
of the 4-H, and he made it a point with the 4-H that what he learned with the 4-H was being a part of the community and giving back to the community and those that needed. But with that, he got an award, but in the 9 years he's been doing it, he's raised $3.5 million in funds and donated items.
Holy
It's an 18-year-old kid.
Nice.
But he said he received as a national 4-H award, he received a $5,000 higher education scholarship, which he can use however he wants to use it.
Wow. That's incredible. What's his name?
He said, Reed. I'm sorry. I had it here and I skipped over it right before you asked me. His first name's Reed. Reed Markham, Marcum.
Reed Markham. And what town did he live in?
McAllister.
In McAllister. Wow. Good for him. That is awesome.
Pittsburgh County.
Mm-hmm. That's just down the road from Kelly.
Not too far.
Yeah.
It says since 2016, Reed has also organized an annual 4-H toy giveaway. During the last year's toy drive, cars lined up for over 3 miles near the Southeast Expo Center in McAllister, and Markham distributed more than 10,000 toys to children and families who were in need for the holidays.
Wow.
I mean, if that's not a kid, he's either getting some help, but I'm sure he's he's reached out and he's made a name for himself for what he's doing. And
Yeah.
all he's trying to do is give back. I mean, that's an amazing thing. I mean, there's grown ass people my age that can't do that. I mean, you can't just help somebody else. You know what I mean? And that seems to be, and it's an amazing thing to think that an 18-year-old kid, not even graduated high school, he's a sophomore in high school, is doing that.
Started at 9, it sounded like.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's had some help, but
so quick Google search. There's articles from 2020 from local area. So
they're in Muskogee.
Yeah, at least McAllister. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, McAllister.
KJRH is one of the local places. And then Fox, Oklahoma City. OKC Fox. They covered it in 2020, June of 2020.
Yeah.
But
he's in your area, Kelly. He may be a good one to
I might check him out.
With. Yeah, that
sounds like a good guy to know.
And you started talking about all that, and that made me think, well, holy cow, okay. I don't know, Oklahoma's a big state. So I don't know where everything's at, but
it's probably what, an hour, maybe hour and a half.
It's not too far. It's just the direction to get there. It's not that far distance wise. It's just how you have to get there because of the crazy back roads and whatnot. It's a pretty good trip. You can take some highway and hit it, but it's faster to take the 2-lane highways.
Yeah.
But it's a trek that way.
Yeah.
Not that far.
Right on. Man, that's amazing.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of neat. I mean, there's probably more to it's a longer story than what I gave you. But I mean, I thought it was pretty interesting when I read it. I was like, wow. I mean, you can't beat that. So
yeah. That's awesome.
Today's youth are not lost. There's still some hope.
That's right. That's right. There's one or two out there. So that's good. We can always look out for those guys. And man, good for him. All right. Well, this brings us to words of wisdom. We're going to go around, Kelly. You can listen to a couple of them and see what they have to say. You never know what they're going to come up with. It's pretty. Sometimes it's pretty amazing. We don't have Mark on this week, so usually he has a humdinger of one at the end, but he's not here. So maybe you'll have to come up, tell in Charlie there, and come up with a good one, Kelly. What do you say?
I'll see what I can do here.
All right.
Ticker thinking.
All right. Well, we'll start. We'll go around. We'll start with Vic.
Well, to honor our guest on, Kelly, obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off the goal. Henry Ford.
That was pretty good. I like it. All right, let's go to Aaron. Aaron, what you got?
All right. So since it's words of wisdom, excuse me, never mistake knowledge for wisdom. One helps you make a living, the other helps you make a life.
Oh, okay. All right. We're doing pretty good so far. I like it. Like it. All right, Mike, hit me.
Oh, wow. I had one here and I was just looking at it, but
Yeah. You want to pass? We'll come back to you.
Yeah, give me a second. I lost it.
All right. We're going to go to Krista. Krista, hit me up.
Okay, this was on a word game I had the other day. An honest man speaks the truth, though it may give offense. A vain man in order that it may.
You're gonna have to say that one more time. That was good though.
An honest man speaks the truth, though it may give offense. A vain man in order that it may.
Thank you.
It was a little deep for me.
He said you stole his.
Is it,
Very
Kelly?
nice.
I'm sorry.
It's almost along those lines. And
Right.
This was just from me, one I've come across lately, and put out there that if the truth offends you, you might want to look internally to rectify that problem.
That's good. Yeah. Very true.
Now I know what mine means. Thank you.
All right, Mike, you gotta bring up the rear here. What do you got?
All right. I know. I gotta figure something out here. Light travels faster than sound. This is why some people appear bright until you hear them speak.
Yes, I love it.
Nice.
That was pretty good. That was a good humdinger of an ending there. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
Filled in for Mark.
Good. Yeah, he filled in for Mark this week. That's good. All right. Hey, Kelly, appreciate you coming on, man. I'm going to give you kind of any last words you want to say, anything you want to hit up before we kind of close this out.
Hey, well, first of all, I just appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for having me. Nice talking to all of you. Nice meeting you. Anybody out there listening to this, if you'd like to help out our organization, this will be the only time I'll ever ask you to go and donate if you'd like to. We got one more trip this year, and then we got about 8 or 9 lined up for next year. It's at deploymenttherapy.com, deploymenttherapy.com. Also, if you want an awesome Trump shirt with him raising his fist in the hand, they're looking awesome. They've been going out. Press has been hot. Send them out. All that money goes toward it. It's at trumpshirt.com, trumpshirt.com. We'd love to have your support. If you're out there, you can also look on that site, get in touch with us if you'd like to go on one of these trips. Only thing is you have to be a veteran. And then we're even getting in that we're going to do veterans and their spouse at some point. We have a couple trips planned. So it's a great thing. It's going to grow. I appreciate everybody's time and support if you're able. If not, just check it out. We've got some great videos on there. And just when this comes out, stay tuned for docuseries. I don't know a timeline on that. Probably going to be another 6 or 8 months before we even have everything that I want to throw in there and we start editing it. Then look for the Captain's Lynn, a patriotic story filled with shenanigans. That will also go towards this. Once again, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And also don't forget the podcast, which the name of the podcast is what?
Who is Kelly Lynn? Because I don't have any idea. Like I said, I'm a guy that doesn't know what he wants to be when he grows up. We're trying to figure it out along the way. We'll have some really good guests. That will be launching very soon. Hopefully, maybe within this week. Hopefully, look for that. And we're going to rock and roll. You might see my ugly mug on some shows new shows some other podcasts that and we will definitely have some people lined up that will be fascinating that I can't even believe I'm going to get a chance to talk to. This might be the most amazing job ever in my life, just sitting around talking to the most interesting people about their American stories.
Very nice. Just yet again, another person going out and documenting stories of our veterans. Absolutely incredible. There's several of the podcasts out there doing that, but thanks for doing that again. Also, thanks for all the stuff that you're doing with your organizations and helping veterans and all the great stuff. I truly, truly appreciate it. To everybody, the crew here, thanks for joining again. Much appreciated. You guys always make it fun. And to all the listeners out there, if you're struggling, you need help, anything like that, don't forget the VA does have great resources. You can always dial 988, press option 1. You can also text 838-255 or go to veteranscrisisline.net. Click on that chat icon. Any of those options are going to be able to put you in contact with somebody that can help you out. But remember, one veteran life loss is one too many. I care about you. Kelly cares about you. The crew cares about you. The entire veteran community cares about you. So please reach out for help. And if you're out there, you're not struggling, you're doing okay for yourself, don't forget the buddies that you served with. Reach out, ask them how they're doing it. And if they need a helping hand, please reach out and help them. One last time, Kelly, thanks for coming on. Crew, you guys rock. To everybody out there, stay motivated, change your socks.